All right, all right. All African People's Revolutionary Party is.
Name is Najala, and also organizer with the All African People's Revolutionary Party.
And we welcome you to African Revolution. Today, there are a couple of things, housekeeping items that we need to mention. First and foremost, dinner will be served today. You will get dinner. Okay, so exciting. So stick around for that.
For anyone who needs the restrooms, they are right down the hall to the left. So if you need that at any time, just go ahead.
And then we want to just kind of inform you on why you're here today, right? So this is African Liberation Day, but you may have never come. This may be your first ALD ever, okay? So just to kind of give us some background, some historical information, if you will, African Liberation Day is an institution, okay? So the organization that puts on today's event is the All African People's Revolutionary Party. We celebrate today's institution because just like you have the 4th of July, just like you have on Thanksgiving, you have all these holidays that are centered around capitalism, exploiting people and making money. But the All African People's Revolutionary Party is centered on bringing people together so that all oppressed people all over the world can have access to their power, which usually means they need to get their land back. That's usually what that connects to, right? So African Liberation Day is an opportunity for us to celebrate that we have an opportunity where we need to organize. We need to get our land back, which usually means getting colonialism out of the way. It usually means getting any system of oppression eradicated so that nobody has to suffer from oppression. And we celebrate African Liberation Day because it's an opportunity for African people specifically, but we also have so much camaraderie and solidarity with other oppressed and colonized people too. But for African people, we need our people to understand we have a responsibility to free Africa. We need our people to understand we are Africans and we need to free Africa from any colonizer who's not going to. The bottom line is what's happening in the Congo is happening in Harlem. That's the bottom line. What's happening in Harlem is happening in Miami and in Toronto. African people everywhere are under attack. We're all suffering from health disparities. We're all suffering from poverty. We're all suffering from criminalization. These problems are everywhere. And they start at home because that's where colonization started on the continent. So that's why we celebrate African Liberation Day. And we acknowledge our camaraderie with other organizations. We have people here today from the Arab community. We have people here today from the Liber God organization, Haiti Action Committee. Everybody you will hear from today is in an organization that is working for justice because we all have solidarity so that we can help every single one of us become free.
And the theme for this year's African Liberation Day is Same Struggle, Smash Settler Colonialism. So we wanted to introduce a little bit why that relates to multiple global struggles around the world. So when we speak about Israel's ongoing settler colonial endeavor in Palestine, it relates to multiple struggles around the world. So especially on the continent, you know, what we see with South Africa, what happened, we have 90% of the land being owned by white landowners, and they only account for 7% of the population. So you see a global financial camaraderie that exists amongst the settler colonial entities who hold land and take it from the indigenous people, who deprive them of their access to the land and extract the resources, and who deprive the indigenous people from having access to that. You see that within the United States. The United States is one giant settler colonial project, which is why the United States and Israel are both so intertwined. Why the United States has such a vested interest in supporting Israel, because it's the same colonial endeavor and struggle. The same venture capitalists who are taking up housing developments all across the United States, taking it away from the poor working class communities, are the same developers who are investing in settlements in the West Bank, taking that away from Palestinians. So we have a vested interest to work with people all across the world, to work with multiple communities, and multiple people who are fighting for their own liberation struggle, to free them from their own land, to free them from here. So that's why as Africans, we have a vested interest in supporting Palestinians, in supporting people in the Congo, in supporting people in Oceania and all across the world. And so as Africans, we don't necessarily say that you must join the AAPRP, but it's important to join an organization because we need to be organized. That's the whole entire purpose. That's why the capitalists are so effective in taking away our land and taking away our resources and our wealth. It's because they're organized across an international scale. So we need to do the same. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to join the AAPRP. There are different organizations that you can always tap in and ask people here about what you should join, what works best for you. But we really recommend and we really require, honestly, that you join an org.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And we just want to remind you all, African Liberation Day has been taking place for such a long time. We give a shout out to our ancestor, Kwame Nkrumah, who kind of coined the day of May 25th as African Liberation Day. And so we actually had an international webinar that was broadcasted yesterday. I don't know if you all had a chance to check it out, but we would strongly recommend that you tune in to view it because we had speakers from all over the world because the All African People's Revolutionary Party is not based in the US. That's not where our problem started. Our problem started on the continent at home. So we have several chapters on the continent, which is why we have the base organization and AOD founded in that space. And so we had speakers from Burkina Faso. We'll hear from some of them today. We had speakers from the Congo. We had speakers that were tuned in. They weren't presenting from Ghana, but they were tuned in. And so this understanding that everything is connected to the exploitation of Africa for African people, and usually they're connected to other oppressed people too, because Africa is exploited by them too. And so just thinking more about that and understanding how this is all connected. And so we encourage you to tune into that webinar through the African Liberation Day website if you can. It was a treat and you don't want to miss out. So you should definitely tune in. And then also, we're so happy that you're here with us today. The reason we did the webinar yesterday is because this is our first AOD back in person since the quarantine. And so you all are blessing this space with us being here because we haven't been able to come together in a very long time. And so we're very happy that we were able to do the webinar yesterday, but there are AODs happening all over the world today, literally all over the world, Canada, Miami, other parts of the world, in Africa, right? And so just understanding that, again, this is all connected, and we're just trying to help people understand that they have a responsibility so that we can get the land back from any oppressed person so that we're not under oppression, and hopefully that we can be free and live in a better world. That's ultimately what we want, right? And so we thank you all so much. We want you to join an organization that's working for justice. We're going to keep saying that, so don't get annoyed when we say it. We're going to keep saying it. We're going to say it until we're blue in the face, because that's the takeaway of today's event. You have anything else to add? Okay, well.
And to start off African Liberation Day, we're gonna have one of our members, Akabundu, join us to begin some libations. So please.
Greetings, family. Yes, welcome to African Liberation Day. If I can ask that you all stand. So as some of you know, within the African culture, we do a libation when we have gatherings and we bring our friends and our family together. And the libation serves a purpose, in one sense, to connect us to each other, to connect us to our history, to connect us, in essence, to our ancestors who laid out a serious path for us to follow. And in this process, while we do acknowledge the names of some of them, I think it's equally important to acknowledge the values and the principles that they stood on. Because those are the things that we want to bring into this room. Those are the things that help us to continue this struggle generation after generation. And you know, this is a generational struggle. So today, in honor of African Liberation Day, we want to acknowledge those ancestors who put the work in to bring the consciousness, to remove the colonial powers from Africa to the best of our ability. And we still have work to do. That's why we still call it African Liberation Day. We're going to continue this fight indefinitely until Africa is free. So with that, when in this libation, when we acknowledge an ancestor, we want the audience to say Ashe, right? And that's an affirmation that acknowledges what we're saying about these ancestors. And in the context of African Liberation Day, we got a long list of them. So we're not going to go through all of them.
All right.
But in doing this libation, we're inviting them to join us. And that can be in our heart. That can be in our mind. And if you so choose, that can be in the seat next to you. Embodied in one of our guests today. Embodied in our panelists today. Embodied in the words and the message that we send. We use water often in our libation. Think about it. Our bodies are 3/4 water. The planet is 3/4 water.
Yeah.
Water goes through a cycle. It goes through a life cycle, right? What we drink, what we see on the ground, what we see come out of the sky. So just as the water does, so do we. We go through a cycle. And in this realm that we stand on now, we have an obligation. We have a responsibility. So we want to, again, invite these dynamic, historic entities to come and join us in our hearts, in our minds. And when we talk about African Liberation Day, we want to put the name, as our sister Shakur did, of Kwame Nkrumah. That's one of our ancestors' songs. Got my Bob Marley tune there. So let's call out Bob Marley, who understood the importance of African liberation. That's why he was at Zimbabwe's independence celebration, singing about Africa must unite. We know that our sister comrades have always been on the front line. Let's call out the name of Winnie Mandela. A powerful, strong sister of Mbali Kamala. Of Tatina Silla. And if you don't know those names, Brandon, they're going to join you today. They're going to inspire you to learn who they were. They're going to acknowledge, they're going to bring you knowledge about how our struggle has continued. And as we were brought across the Atlantic Ocean in bondage, we know that that struggle didn't stop, but we always want to acknowledge our brother Malcolm X. Malcolm X made that trek back and reconnected us internationally. He didn't allow us to be stuck on the plantation or in the ghetto or anything. He internationalized our struggle. We know our sister Maya Angelou. Our sister Maya Angelou was in Ghana. You know, she knew she had to go, and she was a creative, dynamic person. Our brother Kwame Ture, known as Stokely Carmichael to many at one point in time, but graduated and grew into the powerful Pan-Africanism that we all know and love. Our brother Kwame Ture. Our sister Marwana Kuyate. This is a member of the All-African People's Revolutionary Party and a community organizer who often just went to the people with her heart, and you'll learn more about her today. I can't do a libation without mentioning Mama, Sister Harriet Tubman. You know, we use that name sometimes too loosely. When we say that name, that is a sacred name. That is a sacred mission that our sister, our auntie, our mother, Harriet Tubman, went on. So in the libation, as we've done with Africa and the history, as we've done with some of the struggles on this plantation here, we also know that all of us have ancestors, that all of us in our family lineage can acknowledge and recognize ancestors. And we want to give you an opportunity to call out names that move you to act, that move you to do positive things in your life, that help you see the righteous struggle. So please, call out names of people in your life. Bible makes your life. Please, call them out. And we also know that there are thousands and millions whose names go unknown, who we don't call out their names, but we call out their spirits. We know that the Palestinian people that are struggling, we offer up the solidarity in our libation today. And our hearts go out to our people, and we welcome those martyrs, those warriors who have died in this vicious struggle. So closing out, we'll do 3 Ashe.
All right. Justin, are we feeling the ancestors here today? Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. So we're gonna keep the party going, you all. We just want to make sure we were really privileged to have our comrade from the indigenous organization, Liberdon Ayala, come, and we just want to make sure that this comrade is not here with us. We don't know what they look like. We want to make sure they're here so we don't skip over them. If not, we're gonna check with our comrade Pula and make sure that they're not here as well. Okay, good. So we're gonna keep it going. Hopefully we'll hear from them a little later today. We are actually gonna take a moment and just ask you all to just think in your hearts and in your minds what brought you here today. And just use that as an opportunity, as a focus point, if you will. So as the day goes on and people say things that you may not agree with, or maybe people are saying things that you want to know more about, just use that center point, use that focus, if you will, to remind yourself why you're here, because that is what's going to help people become free. That's what's going to keep you driven. That's what's going to keep you focused on what the objective is. And so remember and understand that with anything in your life, if there's struggle, and you tell me if you agree with this, Nagula, there's going to be struggle. You're going to have heartache. You're going to have pain. Those things come with life, and that allows us to get stronger and to move forward. So just as we were thinking about our libation, I was thinking about all of our ancestors who sacrificed their lives so that we could be here today. Just thinking about that, right? That's my focus point for today. Thinking about all of my African ancestors who were not having advocacy and were objectified and did not have control of their bodies. Thinking about all of the children who couldn't even grow up with their parents because their parents were murdered in front of them. Like, this is the world that we live in. And so this is why we're here today, you all, because none of us deserves to live in a world like that. We all deserve to live in a better place, especially for the children that are here now and those who haven't been born yet. We have a responsibility to them, you all. This is bigger than us, is what I'm trying to say. So we are excited you all are here. Make sure you have that focal point so that you can stay focused throughout the day. We're gonna just do a check one more time for our comrade Ayala. Remember that? Wonderful. Yes. Thank you so much. Yes. Yes, and so while the comrade is coming up here, I'm gonna give the floor to Nakua.
And I actually just wanted to add to that idea of struggle, because I was speaking with my comrade in Missouri earlier today about that. And just that, I feel like with more recent generations, and I can say that because I'm from a more recent generation, that there tends to be, we have this amazing recognition of things like mental health and burnout and all these things that plague our generations and our societies as we're dealing with the onslaught of capitalism and colonialism, that we should, that we rightfully recognize. And I think that's a great thing, but I think at the same time, it's really important to put things into perspective for people. It's important to think about our brothers and sisters in Palestine and in the Congo and Sudan who are suffering, who are dealing with loss of life, loss of family, loss of food, and there are so many things that every day we take for granted. And so when we think about what we need to motivate us to struggle, there are those people who are grateful for even the most basic of gifts that are given to them on this earth. And so we need to embody that same thing, because how else are we going to match the struggles of all our ancestors and all the people who died so we would live and be here today? I just wanted to add to that, and then I want to go ahead and introduce Libertad Ayala. So Libertad Ayala from La Raza Unida, it's a predominantly Black and brown and Black community in the heart of the San Fernando Valley, steeped in the values of the working class and spirit of activism from her Chicana family. Her parents were both dedicated working class organizers and introduced her to a world of labor rights, social justice, and the Chicana movement, making these causes a part of her identity. Libertad's family has a rich history of activism, including the practice of salting for unions, where activists take jobs within industries to organize workers from within. This legacy of tireless advocacy and solidarity, along with her family's involvement in radical organizations like La Raza Unida and the League of Revolutionary Struggle, has deeply influenced Libertad's worldview and her commitment to the cause of decolonizing and out-organizing capitalism. So if we could please give a hand to Libertad Ayala from La Raza Unida.
Muchas gracias. Thank you, everyone. Typically, when someone does a blessing, usually you're an elder. I'm not yet an elder. Pretty close. For us, it's 52 years. It's that you've completed a cycle according to, our ancestors. Is that a complete cycle is 52 years? I'm pretty close, not there yet. But I am patriarch. I am a mother, and so I'm offering this as our recognition that we are on indigenous land, right? And not just only that we are on Ohlone, Uchin land, but that we are on land that holds a lot of folks that have been displaced from their own motherlands, right? That we are on land that is a subject and byproduct of colonialism. And even as much as we try, this land holds people that want to survive. This land holds people that are trying to survive and retain as much culture. So I am not Ohlone, I'm not Uchin, I am a Chicana, and I am a byproduct of colonialism displaced by imperialism. And my people are from this land because we recognize that we are one people from Alaska to Tierra del Fuego in Chile, that false borders to us do not exist. That the borders imposed by colonialism and capitalism are not borders that separate us, and that the only borders that we have are the ones that we've allowed to create within each other. That we are one people and that we are struggling with other people who are also looking for their own self-determination and liberation. And one of the things that for a lot of folks in the recent weeks has come up is how easy it is for us as indigenous people to understand the struggle of Palestine, and that is because we know displacement. We know kidnapping, right? We know what it is to be stolen people on stolen land. We know that feeling. We know the feeling of having to flee. And even though directly some of us may have never felt that, it is in our mitochondrial DNA. It is passed on from mother to mother, from my mother, from her mother. I'm gonna pass it on to my children. It is in their DNA, that trauma, that existence, that rich history. And I stand here today because many of our own ancestors were not able to stand up because of self-preservation. Maybe a lot of people think our ancestors didn't stand up because they were weak. They weren't weak. They were trying to preserve future generations. They were trying to preserve the seeds of knowledge, the seeds of life. They were trying to preserve it for us. So even the act of silence for those ancestors is an act of revolution. Because they stayed quiet so that some of us could survive. And of course, some of us come from very loud people, right? That could not stay quiet and that chose to sacrifice themselves so that others of us could continue to nourish each other and continue to thrive. So again, let's not let capitalism, imperialism teach us that our people have been silent, that our history started on October 7th in 1492 and 1776. Our history is rich of centuries of knowledge. When colonizers came and met with us, saw us for the first time, we were architects, we were scientists, we were philosophers. Maybe we were too humble and too kind because we know kindness. Maybe we were too humble and too kind because we had been taught generosity. Maybe we were too humble and too kind to understand the maliciousness of some people. But we were a people of knowledge, of strength, of determination and dedication. So let's not forget that our history isn't just a very small period that started with slavery or that has been forgotten because we are no longer here. No, our history is rich and we carry it. All of you carry it because of your mothers, and all of us carry it because we will give it to future generations. So thank you. This is an acknowledgement of the land, of the people, and of all of us, that we continue those seeds of revolution and that we continue to push forward forever, backwards never. Thank you.
All right, all right. Because we have a whole lot more of this beautiful presentation for you all today. Just reminding you all, bathrooms are to the left and back there. There's 3 different options for you. We even have an all gender restroom, so definitely take advantage of that. And then just reminding folks that we will be feeding you today. Also, our webinar yesterday, our international webinar was broadcasted, so if you want to check that out, make sure you go to the African Liberation Day website and check that out. And I'm gonna give the floor to Najwa for our next entertainer.
Yeah, thank you for that. And then we're gonna go ahead and begin with some edutainment. And we just had our presenter come in. Please welcome to our partner. We'll be getting in some spoken word.
Greetings, everyone. Happy African Liberation Day.
Thank you. Oh, we're online.
Okay, so I don't know if this is being screened, but someone may want to adjust the camera because they can't see anyone who's at this mic. So this mic is empty. There we go. Okay. Assalamualaikum. How y'all feeling, African? My name is Marusi Afara. I'm the son of Ahmed Anani Afara and Sarona Jane. This is my father to the left. My father transcended in 2021. This will be the 3rd year of his ascension to the Most High. And I really want to thank the All African People's Revolutionary Party for just honoring my father on this very special day. This was his favorite day of the year. My father, he never missed ALD ever. I've been coming to ALD since I was in the womb, and I really thank the party for spreading Pan-Africanism because it is a medicine. I'm just going to share a little bit of poetry with you all, and I want to start the poetry with a little context. Okay, so identity is everything, right? How we identify. Now, my father, he struggled with an addiction to cocaine, and it was Islam, Alcoholics Anonymous, and Pan-Africanism that brought my father into sobriety. So we all know that, we all know that there's an attack on African people, and that attack starts with our identity. That's why they want us to identify with our immediate surroundings. They want us to identify with the violence that we have been redlined into, the poverty of physical, material wealth, poverty of mindset. All these things have been staged. And if it wasn't for Pan-Africanism, my father would have never been free. So, thank you. These poems are dedicated to my father. President McDonald, thank you for inviting me. How much time do I have? Like about 10 minutes? Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is just a little precursor because my poetry is a little heavy. Sorry. So this is dedicated to all the African sisters and all sisters of indigenous backgrounds at a cost. You have loved many at a cost. And despite giving of yourself freely, they still felt the need. But didn't you tell them, if I got it, we got it? If I'm eating, we eating? Maybe you didn't say it loud enough. Or maybe your Black accent was just too Black. Perhaps if you had articulated and pontificated the guidelines of your love with less alacrity and more rigidity, bordering on the precipice of healthy boundaries and being a bitch. Perhaps then they would have first asked permission to disrespect the communion of your love, to enter into your house with their dirty ass shoes on, knowing good and well that they just mop your floor. Violation is what this world is built on. So maybe that's why it took you so long to smell the spirits of violation creeping up your walls. How many mops and bottles of Fabuloso did you go through before you realized the stench was not in your floor bed? It was in the one you were bringing home. And I'm dedicating that to all the beautiful sisters of color who are being trafficked right here outside. We really have to bring our sisters home. So this one, I'm gonna end with this one last. So this one is called On Love and Relapse. I never learned how to stop loving someone. No matter the extent of the injury, I just could not turn off my love. I remember the time Daddy dragged me by my hair into my bedroom. We were living on Church Street, ironically. He had just called the Azan, and me, being a polite and loving daughter in my late 20s, told my father that I could not pray this particular Fajr morning. You see, my period had come, and naturally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a feminist, so I was exempt from prayer. Okay, cool, Miha, was his reply. Despite my strong desire to crawl back into the bed, I was lured by the warmth of the heater and the desire to listen to my father's prayer as he made extra zikr, performing Tasbih Fatima bint Muhammad. As he arose from his mat, he got a call on his cell. It was Mommy. She was on her way to New York and needed to pick up a pair of jeans that I had washed and dried for her. Somehow they got into it. I heard Mommy's voice cussing him out through the phone, and that fast, Daddy lost his salam. Salami. God dog it, he yelled. He hung up the phone and came storming at me by the heater. Your mama is on her way. Next time you ask me before you wash any of her clothes in this house. Papi, are you serious? That's my mom. And it was only a pair of jeans. I don't care if it's a single sock. You don't wash any more of her clothes in this house. I'll wash my mama's clothes if I need to. What did you say? He started pushing me against the heater. Don't push me. He pushed me again. Get your fucking hands off of me. He lost it. Did you bring it? Yeah. Large, strong, and still ashy hands from Voodoo struck my face so hard. To say that I was dumbfounded doesn't capture the reckoning and disbelief we both shared in that moment. Somehow I was on the ground. The front door was open and the screen door was shut. It was pitch black outside, but I knew the neighbors could hear me only if I screamed loud enough. Help me! Daddy grabbed me by my hair and dragged me into my bedroom. He picked me up and threw me like I was a rag doll onto the bed. His eyes were full of rage. He was punching me in my face and choking my neck. Get off of me, I yelled in between gasps for my breath. I hate you, I hate you. No, I love you. I love you. Why are you doing this to me? And like that, the demon was gone. He released my neck and I fell into my bed relieved. He went into his room crying. Silence. I had 2 black eyes. I went to my boyfriend's job that night and we cried together. He kissed my bruised eyes as we sat in his Volkswagen Jetta during his graveyard shift. I moved out of my father's house the next day, and he relapsed within 48 hours of beating my black dad. I didn't speak to my father for 9 months. My auntie Rochelle encouraged me to disown him and never speak to him again. I considered it. She told me that it was the Islam that made him do it, and that Buddhism was the only true nonviolent religion. She was right about Buddhism, but she was wrong about Islam. It wasn't Islam that made him do it. It was his shadow self. We all have one. He simply gave in. He wanted an excuse to use. He allowed the spat with my mom to domino into a crescendo of all the reasons why he deserved to break his 12 months of sobriety. I was raised in AA meetings. I know the 4th step like the back of my hand. According to Daddy, most people don't make it past the 4th step. You can spend years mastering just one of the steps, Mihai, he would say. Daddy needed to be a victim in that moment. Bullies need to be victims to justify their violence. Daddy was a victim for much of his childhood. His uncle raped him, his brother raped him. One family member even put a gun to his head and made him do horrible sexual things. He held all of this into his grave. Cleaning his house, I found his diary. I couldn't believe the words that I read. Damn, no wonder Daddy used drugs. No wonder Daddy resorted to violence. It's not an excuse, but it is his truth. Many people thought I was crazy for forgiving my daddy. But that one moment wasn't my dad. That one moment was America. And if I can forgive America, I can damn sure forgive my dad. So my father is amazing, and I share that story because, healing really is ugly. It's not linear. It doesn't look cute and neat. My father fought demons, real demons, ancestral demons, blood memory for his sobriety, and he transcended with 10 years of sobriety under his belt, and I am so proud of him. So this is my last point, and I'll let y'all go. There's an African and lower bottom West Oakland. Somebody come get this nigga. No throwbacks, no polos, no button ups, no collars. This nigga be in full African attire on a Tuesday. From dashikis to those, kufis, mudcloth. What the is mudcloth? That sounds hella dirty. Boobas, grand boobas, and of course the iconic Muslim short fit. Sometimes he walks around with this singing bow and gourd. Ole Leila, ole le, ole Leila, ole le. He claims that's the corrupted version of La ilaha illallah, Ya Allah, La ilaha illallah, Ya Allah. Supposedly a gang of Muslim Africans were sold into slavery and shipped off to Brazil. He called them the Malay Uhuru, or something like that. Anyway, this nigga got like 4 different names. He got a Capoeira name, Sankuji Bao. He got a Muslim name, Ahmed. He got an Akan name, Anane, and a Yoruba name, Apara. I mean, it's not that I don't appreciate the brother. You know, he one of the few old heads out here who ain't one of my customers, but that's the thing. When he be rapping with me, don't nobody want to tap in. And in all due respect, I appreciate you trying to liberate my mind, but I'm not just out here on the corner for fun, sir. And your presence is messing up my fun. All right, young man, no problem. But what you don't understand is I'm doing Dawa. What? Dawa. Vodka, brother. I'm planting blessings for you and me. You out here living for this life, and I'm out here living for the next life. Every minute I prevent you from selling dope is a minute of forgiveness I get when I used to be lost and turned out just like you. Hold on, nigga, what you mean? I ain't no, and I sure ain't no dope fiend. You on the corner waiting on customers, but you ain't a dealer. Your life revolves around dope, but you ain't a fiend. So whose sin is greater? The one who pays to sin or the one who sins for pay? Woo. On a corner for hours on end, no sleep, no proper nutrition, no water, just drink and weed. Your nails are dirty, your dreads ain't been washed in weeks. Frankly, young man, you look unclean. Sounds turned out to me. So drug dealer must be a euphemism for y'all young folks. Oh yeah, a euphemism for what? A bitch ass thing. The sun's setting, young man. It's time for my room. I gotta go make prayer. There's an African in lower body, but somebody please come visit. Thank you.
All right, let's give it up. Thank you so much for your words today. All right, we have a beautiful opportunity to hear from 6 different organizations that are working for justice. Get that. So we are going to our panelists to rise and come join us on the stage. While you all are doing that, we're going to continue to remind you all of our housekeeping items. So first and foremost, say it with me, join an organization that is working for justice. That's the takeaway of today's program. Also, make sure you check out our webinar of our international broadcast from yesterday at the African Liberation Day website. And then if you want to share not with the other 2 announcements.
Okay, so we're gonna set a reminder again, we're gonna start at about 5:20, so please stay tuned for that. And then again, whoever needs to use the restroom, they are right down the hall to the left. There are 3 restrooms for your use. Thank you, and then we're gonna have our panelists come up and join us, okay?
Definitely. So while our panelists are joining us, I'm just going to take this moment to introduce them. I will also be sharing with you their bios, and I'll give them a chance to give a 30-second introduction of their organization, okay? So we welcome Dr. Tiffany Caesar with the African People's Socialist Party, APSP. We welcome again our comrade Libertad Ayala from La Raza Unida. We welcome our comrade Jeremy Miller from the Black Alliance for Peace, or what we know collectively as BAP. We welcome our comrade Pierre Labossiere from the Haiti Action Committee, or HAC. We welcome our comrade Serene R. from the Arab Resource and Organizing Center, also known as AROC. And last but not least, we welcome our comrade Ajika Asha from the Afar Peace Study Circle. So let's give it up for them, you all. We are blessed to have you all today. Like we said, the takeaway from today's program is to join an organization that is working for justice. So we don't even ask as soon as our comrade Nassar said, if you don't like the all African people from the third part, that's okay. You don't have to join our organization. But we have an opportunity to hear from 6 different people, from 6 different organizations, so that maybe something that makes them might influence you to join one of their organizations. Awesome. Let's give it to you all. The biographies, and then if it's okay with you all, I'll just ask you all to briefly introduce your organization by giving us a 30-second introduction. So we will start with our comrade Ajika Ashok from the Ahmed Car Peace Study Circle. This person said, I live in Sunnyvale and I work as a software engineer. We at AKSB work to challenge all kinds of oppression, caste, race, religion, gender, class. We do this through a committed membership-based organization. As part of an anti-caste discrimination struggle and organization in the Bay Area, we took part in the struggle for the Senate Bill 403 to add caste as a protected category. As Hindu supremacy strengthens caste, strengthened, and vice versa. Yeah, let's get up to that. Good work right there. With this understanding, it is necessary and urgent that we challenge religious extremism, Hindu supremacy, which is taking root in the U.S. We can achieve this by building a united front with other struggles and exposing the links between white supremacy and the Hindu supremacy organizations working under the guise of religious or charity organizations. Yeah. Next up, we have Dr. Tiffany Caesar from the African People's Socialist Party. Dr. Caesar is an assistant professor of Africana Studies at San Francisco State University. She teaches African American history and Black Lives Matter, race and social movements. She calls herself a quote Black womanist archivist, in quote, due to her ongoing research on the presentation of transnational Black women leaders and engagement with public history. Queer Mother Lord, Margaret Walker, and Phyllis Natalia. Dr. Caesar recently served on the reparations panel at the University of California, Santa Barbara. She has collaborated on several programs with the African People's Socialist Party that centered on, reparations and the history of Black radical activities. Dr. Caesar is a development scholar at the Margaret Walker Center and a faculty fellow for the Institute for Social Justice and Race Relations at Jackson State University. She has participated in cultural heritage preservation initiatives in the United States and South Africa, focusing on gender issues, cross-cultural youth dialogue, and social justice issues. She also collaborated with the Michigan State University Museum, the Stellenbosch Museum, and the Hush House Community Museum and Leadership Training Institute, and the Nelson Mandela Museum on the educational and gender programming, as well as the international participation and partnership. In addition, she has written successful grants for the Queen Mother Lord Symposium and celebration for the Iberia African American Historical Society, and a 1973 Phyllis Wheatley Poetry Festival, the 50th anniversary prologue. Community dialogue on historical and literary methods and creative works for the Margaret Walker Center. Dr. Caesar is a cultural heritage ambassador for the Nelson Mandela Museum and Malta, South Africa, and has continued in advocacy of African people, Black people's equality and civil rights. He's also written a children's book called Where is Bobby? In response to the police brutality in the United States. She has co-authored a piece entitled Mothering Dead Bodies, Black Maternal Necropolitics and the and the Meridians, Feminism, Race, Transnationalism Journal. Dr. Caesar has also recently co-edited a commemoration journal for the Phyllis Whitley Poetry Festival 50th anniversary with the JSU researcher. So we'll give it up for Dr. Caesar. We are privileged to have our comrade Libertad again, and we heard your bio, your beautiful bio, so I'm gonna skip that if that's okay. I'm also gonna take this moment to introduce our comrade Jeremy Miller from the Black Alliance for Peace, also known as BAP. Jeremy Miller is a steering committee member for the International People's Tribunal on the U.S. imperialism, a historic global tribunal that in 2023 conducted 9 months of hearings on the impact of sanctions on the people of nations and contested territories spanning the global south. He is also an independent investigative journalist who is primarily writes for the San Francisco Bay View National Black newspaper. Through his work, he has been featured in other outlets over the years. Jeremy is part of the POOR magazine family and is an organizer with the Black Alliance for Peace. Let's give it up to Jeremy. We have our comrade Pierre Laboussiere from the Haiti Action Committee, also known as HAC. Pierre Laboussiere is a co-founder of the Haiti Action Committee, HAC, and the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund, also known as PERF, established in the Bay Area in 1991 and 2024 respectively. Working with Haiti's grassroots movement that is engaged with the struggle for justice and democracy, HAC and HERF provide information regarding conditions on the ground, assisting refugees welcome and support community-based initiatives and institutions working for the liberation and the rebuilding of Haiti. Pierre was born in Haiti, moved to New York City in 1970, and later to Oakland. He has been active in various organizations around issues of racial, social, and economic justice. He has been involved in the struggle for the Haitian liberation and self-determination, and has participated in a community mobilization against the U.S. imposed Haitian dictators and the deportation of Haitian refugees. Can we give it up for Pierre? We also have our comrade Serene from the Arab Resource and Organizing Center. So Serene is with the Arab Resource and Organizing Center and is an OUSD special education teacher. Can we give up for all of our panelists? Yes. Oh, comrade, I think I may have introduced you. Can you say your name? Okay, yes, Dr. Caesar. You're gonna be here spiritually. So yes, we are so happy you're here. Okay, so that's the best part. We're ready to be quiet and we get to hear from these people. We're gonna ask you all to take 30 seconds just to give more of an introduction of your organization. And then from there, I'll jump into the discussion questions. How does that sound? Is that good? Okay, so why don't you all go ahead, Dr. Caesar, maybe start from you and then just pass it on. Maybe just a 30-second intro of your organization.
Hello, I'm so very excited to be here today to celebrate African Liberation Day. And I'm actually here on behalf of the African People's Socialist Party. At this particular moment, they have a campaign to help the Uhuru 3. I hope later I'm able to read the statement that they want me to share with the audience members. We are very excited to be here. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm with the Arab Resource and Organizing Center. We are a local Bay Area organization that provides case management and legal services for the Arab and Muslim community here. We also fight for racial and economic justice and the liberation of the Southwest Asian and North African communities here in the US and abroad. And we know that all our struggles are connected both by our desires for liberation and by the oppressive forces.
I introduced myself earlier. My name is Yvette Ayala, and I'm here also representing Chicano organizations, especially La Raza Unida, which I can say has participated in African Liberation Day for the last 45 years. And I think it's really important, again, to emphasize that the connections and the intersections of our struggles didn't start half a decade ago, a decade ago, has been ongoing work of marginalized people in, you know, in Memorial. So again, thank you for having me here.
Hello. Can you hear? Okay. So my name is Ajinkya. I am from Ambedkar Youth Study Circle. The name of the organization is Ambedkar Youth Study Circle. It's inspired from two leaders. First is Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, leader of the depressed classes from India, and second, of course, from Dr. King, leader of the Blacks and Civil Rights movement. AKC's goal is to work towards a society where every individual gets a chance to reach his or her full potential with dignity. This we can achieve only by challenging all forms of oppression, as I have mentioned in the introduction, which is class, caste, race, gender, religion.
Good afternoon, y'all. As was said a moment ago, I'm Jeremy Miller. I'm here gratefully representing the Black Alliance for Peace. I just want to take a moment to express my gratitude for the brotherly invitation from the All African People's Revolutionary Party. My greetings and gratitude to be up here with y'all and in here with y'all, and my gratitude to the Eastside Arts Alliance as well for hosting this event. The Alliance is just entering our 8th year of existence, so a relatively new formation, and we are dedicated to the mission of re-energizing the Black radical peace tradition, which we define as peace not being the absence of conflict, but rather the achievement by popular struggle and self-defense of a world liberated from the interlocking issues of global conflict, nuclear armamental proliferation, unjust war, and subversion through the defeat of global systems of oppression that include colonialism, imperialism, patriarchy, and white supremacy. That's who we are, and happy to be here with you.
Hi, good afternoon. Very pleased to be with you. Thank you, All African People's Revolutionary Party, for inviting me and all the beautiful comrades here on stage and the beautiful audience. And thank you also to Eastside Arts Alliance. I'm with the Haiti Action Committee. We are a 33-year-old organization that's been in solidarity with the people of Haiti and working in concert with the grassroots organization inside Haiti. They give us the word and we translate it. They give us the word and we translate it from Creole, their words, into English. And also with the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund, the funds that you give us, your donations, we send it right into Haiti. We don't keep a penny out here. As a matter of fact, we put our own money into it as well to send it there so that people can rebuild what's the rebuilding. The rebuilding is investing in food sovereignty programs, investing in organizations, in radio stations, in doing community organization work and that kind of stuff in order to advance the struggle. The motto is educate to liberate. And that's what we support. That's what you support. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just reminding our beautiful panelists, my job today is to make sure that the audience hopefully will join your organization or some organization that is working for justice. And we appreciate you all being here, but I have to be firm because we're on a tight schedule, right? So if I feel like we all are talking a little bit more than the 2 minutes, I will gently intervene because we mean no respect. It's all revolutionary love. So just put that out there so we're all clear about that as we move forward. And so we're gonna go ahead and start the panel. And again, I'm just reminding you all, we're not asking you to join our organization if that's not important to you, but we are privileged to hear from 6 different comrades who also believe that organizing is the key. So that's the takeaway, and that's what we want you all to remember. So because We are at African Liberation Day. Aren't we? Yes, yes. Because our same struggle where we connect the oppression that's happening in occupied Palestine. Of course, we understand the oppression, neo-colonialism happening in Africa, other colonized areas all over the world, the Oceania. We talked about land back for the indigenous people, land back for Palestinians, free Africa, all these different things. So we'll start the panel off with asking you all, can you quickly describe, if you haven't already, how your organization's aim and model has related to this year's theme? And we'll start with Comrade Pierre, just move forward.
And again, remind me how many minutes?
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Right there.
So she's keeping me disciplined.
Yes, absolutely. Respectfully, yes, yes.
So, what we are seeing in Haiti is Haiti was up throughout French colonialism, Spanish colonialism, and British colonialism. But what we are seeing is that these people have never given up on maintaining the old colonial structures. And so they've used all kinds of strategies to do that. By bribing people, trying to infiltrate the country, which they have done, using religion, and I apologize for any people who believe in any kind of religion here, but the thing is they have used European religions in order to brainwash us, to get to our minds and to divide the nation. So that's a very important thing for us to remember. And so Haiti has been struggling against that. We became independent in 1804, and since that time, it's been a struggle for us to maintain our independence, the sovereignty of our people, and the right of our people to live a life of dignity and freedom. So what is going on today on the ground in Haiti is part of this continuous assault led by the US, France, Canada, and a whole host of others that are their junior partners in trying to overcome and destroy the Haitian nation. Our people are not accepting it. People are resisting very, very strongly. And they are determined to carry out that resistance. So what you are seeing in Haiti is the continuing struggle for national liberation. Make no mistake about that. And those gains that you are hearing about, these are actual, these are part of the colonial armies that they are using to destroy the Haitian nation. But our people are not accepting it, and people are successfully fighting that. I hope I've kept it in.
You have, yes, thank you.
If you all forgive me, I'm gonna rely on having notes, so I'll never be able to keep them. No compromise, no retreat, defeat the war against Black people in the US and abroad. This is our the primary programmatic work of the Alliance. The campaign represents a broad, strategic, and tactical framework and a response to the changing dynamics of the moment while providing common collective direction for the peace movement, for people-centered human rights, for anti-imperialist education and organizing work of the Alliance members. And the campaign also provides a broad framework of resistance and coordination for non-alliance social forces that are working on multiple interlocking issues and potentially facilitate US-wide concentration and coordination of African and Black resistance forces. The work of the campaign is seen as an integral element of the effort to build Black left unity and a broader, radical, anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist peace movement. And so this dovetails with the theme of ALD this year, insofar as settler colonialism is one of the most pernicious and vicious forms of capitalism. Not to mention one of the most currently relevant as the liberation struggles from Palestine to Zimbabwe, to Kanaki, and beyond exhibit. And the smashing it fits clearly into the no compromise frame, while the highlighting of Palestine, Africa, the Americas, and Oceania, clearly not an exhaustive list, speaks to the global presence of Africans either in active resistance or with potential for such, and as well as the essential interconnectedness of liberation struggles all over the planet in the face of a multifarious, decidedly violent international framework built and maintained to globally shield capitalist pigs from the rightful aspirations of the people writ large.
Thank you. So this theme of same struggle, same smash settler colonialism is very relevant to the caste oppressed people, as imperialism affects the caste oppressed because 80% of whom are landless laborers in rural South Asia, whose labor is exploited along with religious sanctity in the Hindu religion. First by the dominant castes and secondly in collaboration with foreign capital. Before that, I just go into little detail on what is exactly meant by caste and its manifestations here in US. So caste is a 2,000-year-old menace of graded inequality sanctified by the Hindu religious text and assigned at birth. One's livelihood or employment is also dictated by his or her caste. Menial impure ones at the bottom, so-called pure and profitable ones at the top. To visualize the scale of this problem and its worst phenomenon, which is untouchability, it affects around 1/3 of the Indian population, or roughly 500 million people. So it's a very interconnected problem, and we can discuss more.
Right, I mean, I think the same struggle, I wanna say that if we wanted to go in a time machine and see what would happen to our Palestinian siblings 100, 200 years from now, we would just look at what America is, right? That is what would happen. And that's why we're in the same struggle, to displace an indigenous people from their land, to steal their books, their thoughts, their language, their customs, is what we are as Chicanos, the byproduct of colonization. So if you wanted to see what it looks like, it would be me, a displaced people, and I am lucky enough to be part and have been part of an organization that has reminded me of who I am, but many of my own peers do not have that same privilege. And we know that, right? What we will see is a group of people who feel like they're foreigners on their own land. A group of people who have been taken, for granted and taken their history away. So the reason that we, again, are part of the same struggle is because we know what the byproducts will be. We know what the byproducts of genocide have become. We know what the byproducts of imperialism will continue to be and how it will exploit a people. So there's no reason or no need for a time machine or hypotheticals. We know that. We know that they will continue to steal people. They will continue to steal people to create buildings, to rebuild Gaza. It will not be done by the people that are gonna live there. They're gonna be done by stolen people from other stolen lands. And if we wanna know what happens, we are what happens, right? We are what happens to Palestine. And so in order to do that, we must become interrupters. We must not be bystanders. And I think that this is one of the main reasons that we are here, because as an African people, as a Chicano people, as an indigenous people, we recognize that we need disruptors. And we need to be those disruptors for each other.
Thank you to everyone that has spoken. There's so much to delve into each of your small 2-minute statements. So when we think about the connection between the Palestinian liberation struggle and the oppression of people across the world, we must first think about the roots of Zionism. Zionism started not just as a settler colonial project, but it started as well looking at not just Palestine as a place to start its project, but Africa. right? And so Africa, the African continent, Argentina, and Palestine were considered as bases to begin the Zionist entity. We were the unfortunate ones. But it was, when we think about the connections of our struggle, when we think of the connections between climate change and how those are affecting the most at-risk and most vulnerable populations, right? War is the biggest polluter in sort of our planet. When we think about dictatorships and who funds those weapons that are supplied and sold are tested on they're tested on Palestine, right? And that's what they say actually when they sell their weapons. The Israeli state says these have been tried and tested. And so we're seeing weapons being used in Gaza that have not been seen before. And they'll be marketed as such when they're sold to dictatorships in Africa, just like when they were sold to fund the murder of indigenous people in Guatemala. And then we see it here as well, when we see Blinken saying that they will defund the World Food Program if Palestine is recognized as a state.
Wow.
Right? So our struggles are interconnected and we must all work together to achieve liberation.
Thank you so much. I'm very honored to hear all these wonderful ideals and just confirmation and affirmation for why we're here. I'd like to begin with a short statement. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but on behalf of the African People's Socialist Party formed in May of 1972, we want to salute the All-African People's Revolutionary Party African Liberation Day proceedings, joining celebrations taking place around the world in recognition of the significance of the struggle to unite Africa and African people as a globally dispersed nation of people. I think of Walter Rodney in 1972 when he came to San Francisco, and he says the same struggle because the system of oppression is the same. And right now, the African People's Socialist Party is undergoing a huge assault as 3 of their members, including Chairman Amali Eshateli, is being persecuted. They want to put them in jail for 15 years each, saying that they are Russian spies, and the only thing that they ever done was go to different countries and promote reparation for African people around the world. Now, when we think of, colonialism, it doesn't matter if you're in Africa, it doesn't matter if you're in Europe or Palestine. There is an attack on freedom of speech. You should be able to go wherever you want to go to share your narrative, especially when it comes to promoting peace.
That's right.
When it comes to promoting liberation. And at this moment, it's the same struggle. It doesn't matter if you're Black, you're brown, or you're yellow. When it comes to fighting for your rights, when it comes to going against the government and dismantling these hierarchical systems that continue to oppress not just Black and brown people, transgender people, disabled people, whatever ism, we have to unite and we have to come together and say no to it.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's right. Thank you so much, Dr. Seaver. I'm actually going to ask the next question and ask you to start us off, and we'll just go back if that's okay. Thank you so much. Really powerful information you all are giving us, so thank you. So as we continue on talking about just how much of a threat imperialism is, how much of a threat capitalism is, my second question is, how harmful is individualism within the capitalist system, and how does your organization deal with this notion? That's the first part of that question. The second part is, what does the organization suggest that other organizations can do to combat the individualism that is harming our freedom, if that makes sense? And I can repeat the question if you need me to.
Thank you so much. I'll try to go with the first one. I might forget the second one.
Okay.
But right now, African People's Socialist Party is global. And I think of St. Louis, where they are building up the blueprint. In St. Louis, they have restaurants for the community, they have things for the children, they have women initiative when it comes to reproductive health.
And it's this really grassroots, we're going to work with the people in the community and we're going to work our way up, right? It's not starting from the top and working its way down. Sometimes when I think of like reparations and policy, a lot of people like to, talk about the government. But I always like to start with the organizations like these, right, who are actually in the community.
Yeah.
Who are talking to
Yes.
the women and children, who
Yes.
are talking to the men, who are providing job opportunities and things of that particular nature.
That's right.
So right now, for sure, in St. Louis, they are building a community by providing not only political information, but real solutions to problems such as hunger, right? To problems such as issues women have when they're pregnant, right? To thinking of ways that the community can be entrepreneurial, right? So they don't have to depend on, the government or the things that could actually continue to harm them.
Mhm.
Okay, the second question?
So the second question is, what is your organization's recommendation on how to deal with individualism since we're trying to eradicate capitalism and imperialism?
And so I would say, just based on my experience of working with, the African People's Socialist Party, one of the things that they always collaborate with other organizations, and I think that's a true like example. No matter what your organization is, you can always support someone else, right? You can always come together and create a bigger impact. So though the African People's Socialist Party do have very critical and very poignant things and initiatives, it's never just about them as an organization, but it's also how can they work within the community and be collaborative towards decolonialism.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You need me to repeat the question to me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We'll see. So individualism, especially in the US, especially under a capitalist system, is harmful for a number of variety of reasons, but especially because of the way it breaks down communal power, right? We as people, as societies, as harmed communities are stronger when we're united. And we're stronger when we're united in a way that centers accountability, centers growth, and building a relationship based on that love between each other. And so when we look at, for example, our organizations, we center on base building, particularly with our Arab and Muslim communities across the Bay Area, but we are based specifically in the Tenderloin, which is where a lot of working class Arab and Muslim communities live in SF. And we know that power comes from that collectivism and meeting people where they're at, right? So you have to do political education. You have to build a strong sense of what it means to have, transformative justice. And you have to have accountability. And when we look at what we can do to combat these issues of individualism, we look at building strong leadership through that political education, through mentorship, through giving our young people strong schools, strong after-school programs, strong youth leadership programs. We also look at communal decision-making. So with AROC, we decide on things in a communal way. We promote people who can make decisions with smaller issues and build that trust to make sure that we all agree on what's been going on. I think that's something.
Yes, perfect. Yeah.
I think the principal, one of the principal tenets to combat individualism and something that we try to perpetuate is recognition that we live in capitalism, right? Like, let's not pretend, we live in capitalism and we all have to eat, right? And so, but what does that mean, right? It's a conscious choice of where we get our food, right? So again, a lot of us have pursued jobs in either education, and that's part of the organization, and also trade unionism, right? Because if we're gonna have to live in capitalism, we're gonna live in capitalism and actually work in places where we can also benefit our communities. Right? We can't say we're organizing against capitalism and then work for Salesforce. We can't say we're, working against capitalism and then taking a position, Nike, right? You can't say that, right? And yeah, does it hurt folks' bottom dollar? Sure, But the second part, and one of the tenets, is that we can't organize communities that we don't live in. Right? So part of it's combating individualism, and part of being part of an organization, a Chicano organization, is living in a Chicano community, right? And that has been one of the principal tenets. It is, and a tenet that my father followed in La Gasolina as a school teacher, to make sure that we lived amongst the students that he taught, and that those students had access to our home, right? And, I don't want to go off on tangent, but yeah, that was the example that I grew up with, where students actually knew where their teacher lived. And I follow the same tenet, right? I live in East Oakland, and the members of the trade union that I belong to have access to my home, right? Because that is how we combat individualism one by one. It is actually within us and within our direct families of how we start showing and leading by example.
So, so to answer this question, in America or any Western democracy, it can neither guarantee economic inequality or not social equality. Freedom and equality are in constant tension. From this single-minded focus on freedom comes individualism, which is the biggest threat to a society based on equality. At a very micro or personal level, this tendency of individualism cultivated by the capital and the state has left the working class people of America without strong organizations. For example, the project of suburbanization saved capitalism, but the debt it accrued have atomized people and away from any collective involvement. When the individual is left to face the market alone, along with stripping away of the welfare state, it creates othering and blaming, which are conditions for fascism. We believe that it is necessary for our organizations to develop a working class consciousness through educating ourselves, agitating and organizing the masses. Along with that, we have to be very cautious about any identitarian tendencies or identity politics, which can be a very big hamper for our organizations.
In the Black Alliance for Peace, while we push back against the tendency of dogmatic formatism, as I would put it, we also acknowledge that the doctrine of the unimpeachable individual is intimately connected with a divide and conquer strategy that has for centuries sought to prevent us from building community in general and community in resistance more specifically. The watchword is, how do my actions or lack thereof stand with the people? Now, this being said, because we do not shy away from strong political pronouncements, people might read into this a false unanimity of thought. In fact, internally, we have wonderfully robust debate all the time, and this, far from being disruptive, is a critical element of us coming to powerful collective expression and concerted action. So that's kind of part of our process internally in the Alliance. I would also just add that the pushback against individualism, there's the communication part of it, and then there are the acts part of it. There is, it was mentioned earlier in my intro, a different affiliation with Poor Magazine, not P-O-R, but Poor, like Poor folk. Poor Magazine, all good, all good. There's a radio antenna for a community radio station on the roof of this building that was collectively put up by us at Poor Magazine. There is housing for homeless people in East Oakland that was collectively came together. There is an entire family, multiple generations of the Black Alliance for Peace sitting in the back of this room. That's how we come together. It's never about the individual, right? This gathering that we have right here could not exist on the basis of individualism. So it's not something that we have to learn from scratch. It's something that we just need to continue to affirm and reaffirm and understand that is a better way of moving and living.
Let me quote what Malcolm X, and he actually told us, warned us against individualism. In one of his speeches, he said, they take a Negro, so-called Negro, make him prominent, build him up, make him a celebrity. The next thing you know, he or she, I'm putting she, has become the spokesman for Negroes and the Negro leader. And Brother Malcolm couldn't be more right. In Haiti, we see that all the time. The US will be here a typical example. We have something that a proposal that Family has put forward. And next thing you know, here comes the US government having its own meeting some in Louisiana and parachuting some leadership. And the press takes it and spreads those names all over the place. And people are like, oh, you have a new president, you have a new prime minister. I said, where did you get that? The New York Times. I said, well, because they say it's a lie. But they are never on the side of the people. One thing that in the struggle for independence, and you talk to any young nation, even a child, we always refer back to the struggle for independence over 200 years ago, because that's the lesson, that's a foundation for us. They tried to have leaders that, because it's easy for the oppressor to make it about one person, then they target that person, then they destroy that person, then the struggle is started. At least it gives them a way for a couple of decades. But in the revolution, you had more wounds, right? The sisters and brothers, those who went into the mountains, but there were also those on the plantation, who, as you mentioned earlier, kept silent, but was doing the work of resistance. And so every time somebody sold out, no, they sold out by themselves, but the struggle went on. And that was the secret for one of the secrets for the successful outcome of the Haitian Revolution, which is the birth of Haiti. And right now, one of the things with Lavalas movement, the motto of President Aristide is someone who's revered in Haiti as a spokesman for the people, as somebody we trust, who has taught by example and has led by example. But the statement of Lavalas, which he coined, was tout le monde c'est nous. In other words, we are each other's savior. We are all equal and together. And there have been attempts to get somebody being named as the Lavalas person. But and when those people betrayed, we had already made the plan to betray, and that's why they were promoting them. Well, they went by themselves. Nobody met with them. And the struggle still continues, the resistance continues like today. So within the Haiti Action Committee, very egalitarian, we discuss things and we come out with a common position. And there is no, I'm Haitian, so I speak Creole and I translate a lot of stuff, and many people want to hear the Haitian voice. But all the comrades within the Haiti Action Committee are all equal and all are very informed about what's going on in our state for the organization.
Thank you all so much for coming out today. We are so thankful for your time. We heard so many great things. I did the best, my humblest, to kind of sum up what you all said. We heard about the importance of political education, about community initiatives in terms of taking back our communities. We talked about having opportunities to provide housing for our unhoused folks, health initiatives for our folks that need help, laboring children, what that looks like, community initiatives, recognition that we live in a capitalist society. Can we put that on a t-shirt? That would be beautiful. I love that so much. Working with communities, educating ourselves, and last but not least, understanding that the system is trying to prevent us by reminding us that we shouldn't censor ourselves. So we need to take an egalitarian approach instead and understand that collectively we can do so much more to terminate capitalism and kill. Right. No. any questions that you all have. And while you all are thinking of your questions, panelists, if you all can just put together quick contact that you would like the audience to hear, maybe somebody out there would like to join your organization. If you have a social media handle or whatever you want to share, a website, maybe just put that in the mic as we close out. So we're opening it up for questions. Anyone have questions? Did I see your hand? No? Okay, all right. Anyone questions? Nicely done. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, comrade. I'm gonna hand this to you. All right.
This question is for Pierre, and I'm just wondering what he thinks about the Kenyans, Kenyans going to Haiti.
Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for you asking that question. We are definitely opposed to it. The majority of Haitian people are opposed to any kind of occupation and intervention. We've had the US invade Haiti in 1915, even though they apparently left, but they never left because they had their imprints and they had their Uncle Tom nations impose them in power to continue keeping Haiti under their domination. And so the troops from Kenya basically are going to continue the same thing that the UN forces before were doing, and basically to repress our people. And so the people of Haiti don't want the Kenyan troops. I believe 2 days ago there was a couple of bus loads of Haitians who went into Washington DC to protest, and we ourselves, they protested Ruto, President Ruto of Kenya, when he was being wine and dined by the White House, and you had the Bill Clintons there, that whole panoply of people who destroyed Haiti. They were all there celebrating this next phase. But we in the Bay Area on May 18th, we declared International Solidarity Day with Haiti, and we protested that. No, totally opposed. Now I'm appealing to you all to please, you'll be hearing from us. HaitiSolidarity.net, it's our website. Let's continue to protest the presence or the plan to have the Kenyan troops coming to Haiti. Basically, they are putting a black face, using black people to do their dirty deeds. Again, they black people to kill black people for the colonialists. We don't want that.
Thank you so much. So we just heard from Conrad Pierre. He gave you his contact information. I hope you all wrote it down. We're gonna go ahead and close out the panel. Jeremy, if you can quickly just tell us how to reach back if we want more information, and we'll just keep going.
Sure, to reach the Black Alliance for Peace, quite simple, we have a website, www.blackallianceforpeace.com. Please connect with us there, that's also where you can join nationally. Now, I did put a little, piece of paper and a pen on the table up there if you want to connect with us locally, and not just looking for contact info, so name, phone, email, however you want us to reach out to you, and yeah, if you're interested in getting down more locally, please put your info there.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
So we have a website, akscsfpa.org, so anybody can go there and check our activities and everything. Also, we have comments here, and at the end of the event, we can just add it to the WhatsApp group.
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna take a moment of personal privilege. Again, you can look it up, on social media, but again, my only ask for all of you is that we become disruptors and accomplices to each other.
Absolutely.
You can follow AROC on Instagram, AROC_Bay Area. We also have a website, ArabOrganizing.org. And then 12 p.m. on Fridays, there's weekly PSAs by Day Resistance. You can see that on AROC's Instagram or Day Resistance's. And then join an upcoming mobilization class as well.
The African People's Socialist Party is on all platforms. You can go on the website, which is apspuhuru.org. You can also look up the Bourbon Spear, right? The Bourbon Spear is online. It's one of the longest African newsletters that has been going on for years. Also, every Sunday, there is a talk with Chairman Amali Eshiteli that you can join. And there's just like so many things. If you just type in African People's Socialist Party, Burning Spear, you will find all the platforms and ways in which you can get involved in or participate in their initiatives. And September 2024, that's when the trial for Amali Eshiteli. So we really want to make sure we mobilize around that and get as much support so they will not go to jail. Thank you.
Let's give it up, y'all. Thank you all so much. Y'all are amazing. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you next year at African Liberation Day. Let's keep this conversation going. All right, I'm gonna call my illustrious MC to come on up. You all are welcome to take your seat. Let's give it up for one more time, you all.
If we can give it one more round of applause for our panelists. And also for our sister Shakura for giving such an amazing discussion and amazing questions and great energy. Okay, so we're gonna provide y'all with some edutainment, as we like to call it. These are some of the video presentations that were given during our African Liberation Day webinar yesterday. So we first have, speech from APKSY from Burkina Faso, and then as well as Prince Shapiro from the Congo. So, you know, we like to showcase these people back on the continent, to interconnect the struggles that we have with people on the continent, and just to show at, you know, APRP, we're based in the continent, and it's important to connect with our people back on the land. So I think we're gonna go get it set up.
We're gonna bring back Comrade Kua to do another presentation.
Can y'all hear me? Yeah, okay, wonderful. Okay. Thank you. This is called Brown Daughter, Yellow Mother. Light skin, yellow bone, red bone, mama. Mommy intentionally chose to love dark-skinned men. Cocoa brown melanin was her calling, but blue-black was her dream. Daddy was only medium brown. She preferred
dark, darker, darkest. Nevertheless, Daddy felt so loved and appreciated by Mommy for his deep brown skin. Daddy was raised by Mother Jane. Mother Jane said, Anthony, if they come any darker than you, boy, don't trust them. But Mommy was nothing like Mother Jane. For Mommy, the darker they came, the more she trusted. Light-skinned men just simply did not appeal to her. Maybe it was because they assumed superiority in their beauty. Maybe it was because her daddy always ridiculed her golden tone. You show is his yellow gal. Mommy would hang her head in shame. But Mommy was rewarded for her love of dark skin. God gave her caramel-colored twins. She'd always wanted brown babies. Daddy's dark hands would push us in the stroller. People would stop and ask him if our mother was white or Mexican. Daddy would proudly say, no, my wife is an African. Don't you know by now that our people come in all colors? So in honor of Palestinian solidarity, I will do a little poem by the Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish. And I'm gonna do it in Arabic and in English. I'm gonna do it in Arabic and English. So I'll say it in English first. I am Yusuf, O Father. O Father, my brothers do not love me. Ana Yusufun ya Abi, ikhwati la yuhibbunani. They don't want me around them, O Father. They assault me and cast me with stones and words. La yuridunani bainahum ya Abi, yaqtadun alayha wa yarmunani bil hasa wal kalam. They want me to die so they can praise me. Yuridunani an hamut, talika ya yamdahuni. They closed the door of your house and left me outside. Wahum aswadu babe al baytika duni. They expelled me from the field. They poisoned my grapes, O Father. Wahum taraduni min al haqli. Hum sammamu aynabi ya abi. And they destroyed my toys, O Father. Wahum khatamu lukhali ya abi. When the gentle wind played with my hair, they were jealous. They flamed up with rage against me. Hina mara nasimu wa alaba sharia khairu wa taru alayhi wa taru alayhi. What did I deprive them of, oh my Father? The butterflies stopped on my shoulder. The wheat bowed towards me. The birds slept in my palm. فماذا صنعت لهم يا أبي؟ الفراشات خطت على كتفي وما لعت علي أي سنبيل وطير نمت على رحتي. What have I done, O my Father, and why me? فماذا فعلت يا أبي يا أبا? You named me Yusuf, and you threw me into the well and accused the wolf. ولماذا أنا أنت سميتني يوسف وهم أقوقوني بالجب والضخم ذئب. But the wolf is more merciful than my brothers. وذئب أرحم من إخوتي. Oh Father, did I wrong anyone when I said that I saw 11 stars and the sun and the moon? I saw them kneeling before me. Abati, هل جنيت على أحد عندما قلت إني رأيت 11 كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين. Thank you.
All right, let's give it up for our All right, folks, so moving right along, we are going to continue the presentation with our next speaker, and I will turn it over to Tom.
So we are going to have a little recognition from Midamo, the Anane Akar recognition, so if we could please give it up for our comrade Midamo.
Well, good greetings to everyone. I hope you are enjoying this edition of African Liberation Day in 2024. Right now, we just want to take a moment to recognize our comrade Anani Aparo, who was a long-standing member of the All African People's Revolutionary Party. Ahmed Anani Aparo, born in the lower bottoms of West Oakland on August 16th, 1953. As a youth, Anani was spiritually called to commit his life to the liberation of African people, causing him to shed his European birth name for one that reflected his true identity as an African born in America. Let me say that again. As an African born in America. Anani graduated from McClymonds High School in 1971. He went on to attend Merritt College and eventually graduated from UC Berkeley, majoring in political science and Spanish. Later, he received his teaching credential from Cal State Hayward and his master's in special education from Cal State East Bay. He dedicated his life to the precious mind of the students in the Oakland and Berkeley school districts. While at UC Berkeley, Anani joined the APRP. He worked to recruit Africans to the struggle of African liberation and scientific socialism. He was active in all aspects of building the APRP, from consistent participation in our internal political education program to working with comrade organizations such as the African National Congress, the Pan-Africanist Congress of Oceania, the Democratic Party of Guinea, the Black Panther Party, the American Indian Movement, just to name a few. Anani was a good example of someone who always worked to improve himself and to make a positive contribution to the development of humanity and Africans in particular. May he continue to rest in peace. Thank you.
Rest in power, comrade. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can we give it up one more time for our comrade? It is now, thank you so much. It is now a very celebratory time of the event where we will be presenting our award ceremony. So, oh, no, I apologize. I'm so excited. I'm just missing it. My apologies. It is making exciting to hear from the All African Women's Revolutionary Union, a part of the All African People's Revolutionary Party, because we understand that we cannot free Africa unless we first African women, marginalized genders, and people who are
A panel of one.
Revolutionary greetings, comrades. It's really been exciting to hear all the presentations and the engagement and you know, really be inspired by all the work that all these organizations are doing. And so I'd like for us to give another loving hand to all those comrades that are in organization that presented their strategy, that are doing work in our community. I want to, you know, just acknowledge, Brother Nani and I went to college together and, you know, graduated together at UC Berkeley, is what he called it. And he was a journalist as well on the campus, and I have a couple of articles where he captured some of the movement activity that we did on campus. We joined the party together in college, and almost 48 years later, we're still here. So give thanks for that. We want to just remind everyone that Pan-Africanism is defined as the total liberation and unification of the continent of Africa and all her peoples under scientific socialism. And so for us, Africa is primary. What do we mean by primary? It means that until the continent of Africa is liberated, and we know Malcolm told us that a liberated people depend on land. Their land is the basis of their power. No African on this planet, I don't know about the other planets, but no African in this planet will be free and will know justice until Africa is free, united, and under a socialist system, a common system, a collective system, an anti-capitalist system. That's the objective. And so that being said, our examples in the All-African Women's Revolutionary Union are based on revolutionary women who have fought on the battlefield in Africa. Because let's think about it. What example do we have except those where we actually won our liberation? We can hear about folks who were in this movement and are in that movement or doing this and that, but when we talk about scientifically strategizing and executing that strategy, we have to base our techniques and our strategy on those who were victorious in liberation. And so we want to highlight Sister Josina Michelle, Sister Josina Muthemba Michelle, who was a member of the Frelimo organization who fought for the liberation of Mozambique. In what we say, women have the right and the duty to fight. Sister Josina Michelle, who was a part of the leadership of Frelimo, the organization that fought for the independence of Mozambique, said, the Frelimo War is a people's war in which the whole people participated, that we women were even more oppressed than men, and therefore we had the right as well as the will and the strength to fight. We insisted on our having military training and being given weapons. And let me just say also, political education is your first one. As a Mozambican woman of Angola as well, they played a central role, those two liberated zones played a central role. On March 2nd, Angola, which annually honors the bravery of 4 women who fought for Angola's independence, acknowledged Sister Linda Rodriguez, Irene Cohen, Ingresia dos Santos, and Lucrecia Paine. Those names live on in the Angolan people's memory, although they were ambushed, captured, and killed. Remember those names, study those sisters, and know their history in the contribution of the liberation of Angola. Many who inspired by the strong women of the Black Panther Party, SNCC, the various other organizations, as well as liberation movements, the PLA, PARC, and the National Union of Eritrean Women, who are some of those who played a role in the struggle for the liberation, an armed role in the struggle for the liberation of our people, know that our struggle and the role that women play is not fantasy. We're not talking about someone who's a Marvel comic character. We're not talking about someone who is pretending to be in a Wakanda place that don't exist, when we know the African continent has more power and minerals and has more capability than any Disney comic can deliver. That it is a real struggle, and we are real people, and women fought in real war. We need to really disconnect from the matrix aspect. It is the fact that women have been repeatedly tested on the battlefield of the African Revolution, and their performance has been nothing less or nothing short of exemplary. There are thousands, maybe millions of names of African women who have been given their lives for the liberation of Africa. And today, more than ever, it's important to share our stories and to understand why it is our duty as women to fight on every front and every corner and every battlefield of our struggle. And it's more important than ever that we commit to revolution. Honoring both our 66 years as fighting for African liberation, African Freedom Day being called, and 61 years African Liberation Day. As this is our anniversary, it's important to talk about those who contributed their life for the liberation of Africa, and those women, more importantly, and why it's important that every woman in our movement and those who are outside of our movement commit to liberation.
That's right.
It is said that women have done everything, in particularly actually military combat against African enemies, but they have also played a critical role in combating cultural backwardness and ideological and political roadblocks that have supported classism, sexism, and isolation within our own societies. Let me repeat that. We've already paid our price on the battlefield militarily, but women have also had to play critical roles in combating cultural backwardsness. And we'll talk about that a little later. Supporting ideological and political backwardsness and roadblocks, which support classism, sexism, and isolation within our own societies. In fact, African women, despite what you see on the videos, in the movies, in television, and in print, African women, women in Cuba and Vietnam were the first women in modern 20th century movements to engage in combat roles. And let me just remind you, Africa is a continent. When we say Cuba and Vietnam, we're talking about territories in the Western Hemisphere and in the Asian Hemisphere, but we're saying the entire continent. African women play critical roles on the battlefield, the first. Okay? But this is not the image you see. And this is not the image that is propagated of the African woman. all over the world. So we understand that this tradition continues in battles led by women in India, women workers in Central and South America, women leading the struggle for the liberation of the Kanaki people in New Caledonia, in India, all over the South Seas, struggles that are going on, not just in Palestine, but even today, we're talking about the French is still talking about colonizing and dominating the Kanaki people in their own land. And women are a part of leading that struggle. Nevertheless, there are still cultural barriers of engagement that is hindering women to participate fully in their own struggles. And we need to break those barriers down. This must be most apparent in the popular culture where women, particularly African women, are ridiculed and degraded. And we all can know that in social media, in films, commercials, and everything, it is women of color who are regularly ridiculed and degraded. Yet, we have achieved more. Yes, give a hand. Women have achieved more. Women in Cuba, women in Vietnam, and women of the African continent were the first to fight in combat, and we still outnumber nations where we were full infantry in revolutionary struggles. So to talk about when you're struggling for your liberation, that those who are struggling for Palestine are pro-Hamas, we need to be pro-Hamas, and we need women in Hamas, and we need to revolutionize the movement, and we need to make it a mass movement, and it is going to be a mass movement, because we are tired of colonialism, and not only colonialism, but imperialism will find its deathbed in Palestine and Africa. Liberation and socialism will not be achieved without women challenging society on every front, attacking the vestiges of oppression and exploitation within our own societies to free themselves by extension and the border of society. Consider Josina Michelle's story. Her family was very poor and from a small district in Namao in Cabo Delgado. Her family had a small plot because they were always working for the Portuguese. The colonizer paid very low wages. Does this sound familiar? Well, and in most instances refused to pay wages at all or give a pay increase. Does that sound familiar? Well, they forced work, and they forced us to work for companies growing cotton rather than plant it for themselves. When they talk about who built Europe, it was Africa that built Europe. When they talk about capitalism, it was African labor and African resources who helped launch the Industrial Revolution. And so it's only natural that we destroy capitalism because we have to take the build a system for ourselves, a society for ourselves to advance our own development, right? So when the Portuguese came to their home, women were disrespected, and even married women were abused from their husbands. Knowingly, their husbands would know if they said anything, it would be torture. Consequently, women had no choice but to join the Limo to fight. What is our excuse? When women joined the struggle, there was a strong opposition to our participation because that was against our tradition. Again, we talk about culture. On every front, whether in Europe, Asia, Africa, or Latin America, women and girls are used as war trophies, raped, stolen and used to work for soldiers, abused by men and regarded as suitable only for bearing children and taking care of our husbands. However, women are a majority. And when women have played their role in the revolutionary struggle, they have won decisively on all battlefronts. However, the greatest and longest battle in the battle to change our culture radically is the transformation of our ideological and political understanding of the value of women within society. Does that make sense? So what must be done? No revolution will be complete, nor will we see freedom or an equal society until women organize to change the culture, where it is outdated and holding back the forward progress of society. We must destroy the old norm, the old customs and traditions at its very roots. Can I repeat that? We must destroy the old customs and norms and traditions at its very roots. All traditions ain't good traditions, y'all. We're told that everything, just because it is traditional, ain't all good. We have to be scientific. We pick the good and we throw away the bad. Right? We must destroy the norms and customs and traditions at its very roots. Feminism alone cannot destroy the roots of feudalism and colonialism and capitalism. Ours is a revolutionary struggle. We want to liberate the entire society. So feminism is not the answer. Right. Bourgeois regimes cannot guarantee freedom for women through democratic elections. They never have and they never will. All right. The rich benefit from subjugation of the poor and the working class, and women are the majority in those demographic groups. Only a complete revolutionary struggle can destroy the vestiges of oppression in every aspect of our society. The problems of violence, poverty, homelessness, and economic exploitation are not just women's problems. Their entire society is burdened with those problems. And the greatest need for freedom is the one that will be held by women. And we are best suited to lead because we are the most exploited. Women truly do have a duty and a right to fight. Women fought yesterday, women fought today, and they will fight tomorrow. We say forward ever, it's never. And a poem by Sister Josina, this is our time. This is the time we were all waiting for. Our guns, our lights in our hands, the reasons and aims of the struggle clear in our minds. The blood shed by our heroes makes us sad but resolute. It is the price of freedom. We keep them close in our hearts. For their example, new generations, revolutionary generations are already being born. Look at them in the streets, y'all. Look at them on the campuses. Look at them all around the world. Revolution is being born right now. And ahead of us, we see bitter hardships, but we also see our children running free. Our children are plundered no more. This is the time to be ready and firm, the time to give ourselves to the revolution. Sisters, for whatever,
We often give 2 awards every African Liberation Day. One that our comrade Nakwa is going to point out, and I will be on the other one, so I will give the floor to Nakwa for the first award.
Okay. So the first award, Christina Jean Milani Kwasi Daughter of Africa Award. And this year, the party awarded it to Fatima Bernawi. She is an Afro-Palestinian militant, Fatima Bernawi. She's the first Palestinian woman to carry out an act of armed resistance against the Zionist entity. And she then gladly took the honor of being the first female political prisoner. She commands reverence in Palestine as a symbol of the revolutionary connection between the liberation of Africa and Palestine. And she also represents the true capabilities and resilience of the militant African women. She joined the ancestors in the fall of 2022, but her legacy lives on in the resistance. She is also a personal hero of mine. She was the first female chief police in Palestine, and her legacy continues and holds dearly to our hearts. So thank you. Please give it up for Fatima Bernawi.
And just to give a little bit more about the background of this particular award, this recipient has earned this award because our comrade Molina Payate was a member of this same organization, the All African People's Revolutionary Party. She was also one of the co-founders of the All African Women's Revolutionary Union. You just heard from Comrade Nzuri, who came and spoke on behalf of marginalized genders, STEM presenting folks, and non-binary folks who are in the AAPRP, working to fight to deconstruct colonialism. And so to have this award be presented, that means that this comrade had to be doing some serious work because Molina was in the same space, doing work within the community. She opened up her house for domestic violence victims to come and have a safe space. And as I said, she represented the AAWRU. She also represented the All African People's Revolutionary Party at the Million Man March and brought a very Pan-Africanist perspective to a very nationalist organization and agenda. So let's give it up to our awardees one more time. That's amazing. Next, I would like to honor our comrades who were the recipients of the Kwame Ture Black Star Labor Award. So our recipients are actually the Alliance of Sahel States. This represents, yeah, let's get it out. So this is a representation of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. The Alliance of Sahel States is a mutual defense pact created between Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso on the 16th of September in 2023. The Alliance's stated goal is to protect against possible threats of armed rebellion or external aggression by emphasizing that, quote, any attack on the sovereignty and territorial integrity of one or more contracted parties will be considered an aggression against the other parties, end quote. And that, my friends, is what collectivism is all about, okay? So let's give it up for our comrades who received the commentary that we have. I want to be more of Carmichael, you know, Kwame Ture was a member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Kwame Ture was a member of this same organization, the All African People's Revolutionary Party. He did work in the South, he did work in the East, he did work at home on the continent. He was very clear that Africans everywhere needed to organize and so we could be free. And he made every effort that he could to dedicate his life to that. So again, to be a recipient of this award means you are doing serious work for African people, which ultimately impacts all oppressed people, right? And so we give it up for them one more time. We're going to keep the program growing, and I'm going to take this moment to introduce our comrade Ajamu, who is going to be our keynote for today's event. Before I bring up Comrade Ajamu, I just wanted to introduce him and let you all know that, again, he is in this organization working for justice. Ajamu has actually been a member of the AAPRP for going on 40 years now, 40 plus, and has dedicated his entire life to eliminating all oppression, really any inhumanity so that people can exist and live in a humane society that is free of terror, trauma, and torture. So can we please give it up for Comrade Jungle that she is. Yeah, we have to say.
Greetings, everybody. How's everybody today? Happy Liberation Day 2024. Right. And I want to start by acknowledging our brother Ananya Para. I remember him warmly every year around African Liberation Day because we used to organize this event every year in Sacramento, where I live, on the Sacramento plantation. And every year, Ananya would call like a week before, brother, I'm staying at your house. I'm like, yeah, brother, every year you stay at my house, and we would go out and eat, we would have a good time. So I really miss that brother and his positive influences and the humor and the fun that we had spending time together. So glad that we can honor his presence and his participation. Y'all all right? All right, I'm asking because I'm the only thing standing between you and the food. So we're gonna move through this, but it's important because we just want to contribute to what our comrade sister in Zuri and everyone else has done in terms of talking about the theme for African Liberation Day 2024. Same struggle, smash settler colonialism in occupied Palestine, Africa, the Americas, and Oceania. So we just want to talk about it in terms of we've heard some brief history, but really quick, that African Liberation Day started in Ghana. The Conference of Independent African States was organized in April 1958, and Africa Freedom Day was declared at that time. And then, like Conrad and Zuri said, in 1963, the name was changed to African Liberation Day. And today, some forces like the African Union, so-called African Union, and other lowlives on the planet Earth want to change it to Africa Day. They want to take the liberation. We're really reclaiming African Liberation Day. Why? Because the same forces who have terrorized us for 531 years, they're fully operational, aren't they, y'all?
Yeah.
They're fully operational. They're fully here. So we can't act like individual advancement within the capitalist system is progress. We can't be confused by that. We know that that's not the case. You can get 500 Barack Obamas, and we're still suffering everywhere we exist on the planet Earth.
Well,
That's a fact. So we say African Liberation Day, which says that we are fighting to liberate Africa from the clutches of the people who control it. So that's what that means when we say that. One unified socialist Africa. So, let's talk about Pan-Africanism and our same struggle theme, right? We said Pan-Africanism defined is one unified socialist Africa. What does that look like? What does that look like? So let's imagine it through a bourgeoisie lens. And don't act like you don't know how to do that. Let's imagine it through the eyeballs of our master culture. Don't act like we don't know how to do that. We do that every day, don't we? Right, we do that all the time. So use that right now to look at it through that lens. So take this man, Elon Musk. And I think he's an appropriate person to use because he where he got his money? His parents owned emerald mines in Oceania, what you call by the colonial name South Africa. That's where he got his money. He didn't get his money through hard work and industrialism. It's like Libertad and Zuri said, like, y'all, we gotta turn that clicker off, right? Because some of us running around here thinking, well, we can get rich through this capitalist model. The median income, and this is the richest country on earth, right? Is that true or not? Y'all looking at me like you don't know what I'm talking about. That's the richest country on earth. And the median income in this country for African people, you know what it is? It's about $27,000 a year. So I don't know where these Negroes are that are getting rich through Bitcoin and all this stuff they keep telling us. Y'all know some of them? Somebody that's become a millionaire last year or last month through Bitcoin? Raise your hand if you know somebody like that. You don't know nobody like that because it doesn't exist. But yet we keep being told these lies. And so this is why when we say Pan-Africanism defined,
is what we need to solve these problems, right? And so we talk about someone like Elon Musk. Look at his company, Tesla, right? They're all over the world, aren't they?
Yes.
They're still in African. You can't build a car without African resources. You can't build a car without it. The zinc that bends the steel to make the aerodynamic design on the Tesla. Where does that come from? Y'all act like you're not sure. Right. Right. The rubber for the tires, where is that coming from? 60% of the rubber products used in this backward cesspool empire come from Liberia, right? The gasoline that goes in the car, most of that is from where? Nigeria, right? So that's where the car comes from. And we don't even, we're so strange in 2024. We just want to have a Tesla, drive it around and look like, yeah, look at me and my Tesla. Knowing, worry next month whether you can make the $1,000 payment. You don't know, please don't come take my car. But we just happy to have the car. When the car comes from the same place we do, and we don't control the production of it, that's what we gotta think. That's what Pan-Africanism is talking about, you all. And so when we say we use this man, Elon Musk, Tesla's all over the world, and they have people all over the world working for them, right? And no matter where they are, they can speak French, they can speak Portuguese, they can speak Spanish, they can speak English. All of them are working to uplift Tesla. Is that right?
Yes.
So when we say Pan-Africanism, we're saying no matter where you are, whether you speak English, French, Portuguese, Spanish, Creole, Swahili, whatever, you're working to uplift Africa. That's what we're saying. And we're saying that happens under a socialist system where the zinc, where the cobalt is used to solve the problems of poverty, the problems of sex trafficking, the problems that we have as African people that need to be resolved, right? So that's what we're talking about when we say Pan-Africanism. Are you against any of that?
No.
So everybody should be a Pan-Africanist. Even if you're not African, you should say, I'm for Pan-Africanism. That's all we're talking about. And when we say socialism, we're saying that you have a system where the means of production are controlled by all of us. So education is free. How many of y'all got student loans? Right. Education should be free. All y'all that raise your hands, are you against free education? Healthcare should be free. How many of y'all got healthcare bills? You worried right now when you go back to your house, where they're gonna be standing out front waiting for you. It should be free. Your living expenses should be a defined percentage of your income, like 15% max. Some of y'all, your living expenses are 150% of your income. So you gotta have 30 people you can't stand living with you. Is that right or wrong? Y'all know it's true. You love capitalism, but that's what it's doing to you. So when we say socialism, that's what we're talking. Are you against that? No. Don't listen to let these people confused with all this bourgeois life. Socialism is a good thing. And in Africa, it would work easily because we have the resources to make it work properly. So that's what we're talking about. If you watch our international webcast, you saw person after person. If you haven't watched it, you should. Person after person after person on the African continent say that the African diaspora, that's you, is essential to Africa's future. So stop with all this, they don't like us in Africa. Stop with all that foolishness. 2024, y'all, we gotta do something different. We gotta do something new. We can't just keep doing that same old nonsense. So that's what we're talking about when we say Pan-Africanism, defined. And the same struggle theme is appropriate, and we really gotta address this because a Palestinian victory is our victory. What we talk about, these lands going back to the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere. I had some clown, coon, buffoon, Negro official the other day tell me, well, they can't even agree. And I told him, well, I don't agree with you, so what does that mean? Like, that's what we do, right? We gotta work through that. They have agency, they'll sort out all that out. I know they will. They'll sort that. That's for them to sort it. That's none of your damn business. They'll sort that out. They'll sort their out as people. But at the end of the day, What it will come down to is that this is their land, and they will get it back. They will get it back. And if you don't like that, you can't ask your neighbor, what about you? What about you? Tie that back to Europe. Get a canoe. I don't know. Who cares? It's not about you. You know, if you didn't have that kind of attitude, maybe they let you stay here. I don't know. What are you gonna do? I got places to go. I'm going home. But whether you go or stay, that's not the point of Pan-Africanism. The point of it is that we've got to recognize it's the same struggle, you all. When the Palestinians win, we win. Do you know why that is? Is it just because that's what I want to say? No. It's because the Palestinian people are fighting against the Zionist state of Israel, which is funded by who? Right, the United States of America. Who is our enemy? Who? So if the Palestinian people weaken the Zionist state of Israel, that can only happen because the United States of Israel, Britain, France, all of the capitalist imperialist countries are weak, right? So the only way that can happen. So when that happens, that makes our pathway easier for victory, right? It makes the pathway for the indigenous people, the pathway to victory easy, right? So the only people that don't understand that, like all these people, well, I don't believe that because the Arab store on the corner treated me bad. I mean, we gotta have a larger vision than that, you all. We gotta have a larger, I don't care if 20 Arab stores treat me bad, okay? I still want the Palestinians to win. And so it's bigger than me buying some bread at the Arab store on the corner. It's bigger than that, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had a bad experience there. But I will tell you, this is capitalism. So when Africans on the store, you don't get treated any better. Y'all know that. Stop lying. Stop saying all this nonsense. Stop it. Stop it. Declare today, African Liberation Day 2024, I'm gonna stop this nonsense. Because all those little free stores are trying to make some money. So they gotta treat you how they gotta treat you to make that money. And that's what that's about. You can't refute that, you can't deny it, it's the truth. So this is the last thing, and then we're gonna eat. We're gonna talk about settler colonialism, capitalism, and imperialism, because that's a big part of the theme. So settler colonialism, if you want to know how to remember what it is, like years ago, Comrade Seasway told me I can do US history in 10 seconds if I'm telling the truth. And he said some crooks from Europe stole us from Africa, came here, stole us from African indigenous people and built an empire. And I'm like, that's the best history lesson I ever got. Like I was like 21 years old, I'm like, that's, wow, I wasted all that time, they could have just said that in 10 seconds and I would have got it. You can't refute that, that's the truth. So there it is. Settler colonialism, some people from Europe, and we're not saying that because you're from Europe, you're bad. That's up to you to determine that, whether you're good or bad. Your actions will dictate that. You know, first thing you gotta do is stop calling yourself American, all of you in here. Because when you call yourself American, you're claiming responsibility for what America does. I don't want any part of it. Ain't no American, I'm just here. Just like that garbage out on the street is just here. It's the same thing to me, it's the same thing. So settler colonies, the Europeans came here, stole this land, stole our ancestors, right? Look around you, all of you Africans in here. You're only here because of what I just described. You think your name was Johnson in Sierra Leone? Smith, Jones, Williams? You think that's who we are? That's not who we are. That's who these people made us. That's who they made us. And as long as we're looking at life through their, be free. We'll never be free. So this is what settler colonialism, they came and stole the land, right? Now, neo-colonialism is that we forced them to leave, we organized independence movements, they had to leave, but they built a structure and system that still represented their interests, even though they were no longer physically there. Right? So understand that. Capitalism is the economic system that dominates the planet today. As Conrad Nzuri said, I'm going to repeat it. It started from the buying and selling of our African ancestors. That's how it started. The seed money. Read walk around these books, how Europe underdeveloped Africa. There's so many sources that talk about that. That's how this capitalist system built. So any African that's pro-capitalist, you need to talk to a psychiatrist. Today, you are insane. If you believe in capitalism, this is the system that's raped and exploited us for 500+ years. And you think, I had one the other day, well, we just worked harder. And I was thinking to myself, I'm trying to work, how can I work harder to rid this person from the planet Earth? Because that's what we need to do. So imperialism, the capitalist system, in the 1950s in this country, you can have one person in your family working a job, and they can afford to buy a house, send multiple children through college, and do all that, go on vacation. That's not possible anymore. Why? Because the capitalist system is in a state of decline. People all over the world, we've talked about it all the time we've been here, are rising up in resistance to capitalism. It can no longer do that. It's on its last legs. And so because of that, it has to go to other countries to steal their resources. The reason why you got a cell phone that you can charge is because of African cobalt. The reason why you have a flat screen and a laptop that you can watch is because of African cobalt. Our kids in the Congo right now are digging that stuff out of the mines with their bare hands at 12 years old, dying by the time they're 30 years old. And you want to tell us we need to support this system. We need to vote for some cracker or some wannabe cracker, some graham cracker. The hell with all the crackers. I don't even like crackers. We need to build this international revolutionary movement and want all the crackers and graham crackers out of business. That's what we need to do. So that's what imperialism is, you all. And African Liberation Day is a revolutionary institution. Shakura mentioned it, and if you don't know, that's my daughter. I'm her dad. So don't come to me saying the MC was terrible. That's not a good idea. It wasn't terrible. But because of this, she talked about African Liberation Day is an institution. We have to build our institutions, right? They got theirs, Memorial Day. What is that? Memorial for who? Somebody in the U.S. And if you were in the U.S. military, I feel bad for you. I know why you joined, but we're not going to go along with this lie that you need to be thanked for something. Thanked for what? Like I grew up in Hunter's Point over here in San Francisco. It was terrible. And you fought for my freedom? Get out of here with that nonsense. That's insane. Only an insane person would believe that. That's the truth. You fought for multinational corporations. You were a mercenary. You may not have known it, but that's what it was. And you can correct that now. You still try to live through that lie, because that's what it is. So this is what we're saying. We got to create our own institutions. Here they got another one coming the month after next, July 4th. Did we flunk math or something? Some of us in here be telling people, how was your 4th? It was terrible. The hell you think it was? How was my 4th? I don't have no 4th. We were slaves on the 4th of July. What are you talking about? But yeah, we go along with it. Have a good 4th. I always say, I tell people my job, have a good morning day. What? It's for 4th of July morning for us. Oh yeah, that's right. You're John. I say that. Yeah. That's what it is. So they got the institutions, we gotta do ours. So veterans, I can go on and on with but what are their institutions about? It's about promoting their system. Right, a few years ago, we had one year Thanksgiving, my cousin invited me to her house. She was original over here. And so I took 2 rolls of quarters. And when I got there were kids there, they didn't live in the house, but they were running around. So I threw the quarters on the floor. And when the kids saw the quarters, what do you think they said? Oh, someone lost quarters, I should return them to them. No, what did they say? I found some quarters in somebody else's house. Right? So I said, let's talk about that when y'all do the turkey and the dressing running down your mouth and all that. Let's have a discussion. How do these kids think they found money in someone else's house? Because you're celebrating the institution of stealing land and claiming that that's what they have to call it. So we have to have an institution to combat that. Does that make sense to all we're trying to do? We're not trying to hurt you. Well, we don't care if we hurt you. We're supposed to hurt you if you believe in this nonsense. So that's what it's about. So we have to do that. We have to make sure that we are engaging in a struggle that's designed to to do that. And I just want to say real quick on this last slide, this thing is not working too well. But Frantz Fanon was in a picture on the last slide. And at the All African People's Conference in 1958, he gave a speech. He's there in that picture giving a speech. He gave a speech that turned the whole focus of the conference around. Before that, everyone was talking about we have to negotiate nonviolence independence. And he gave you read Frantz Fanon, you know what he was talking about. He said, we can't beg these people for freedom. We have to take and seize our freedom. And it had a tremendous impact on the people at the conference. And I think to a large extent, we're here today because of that. And he befriended Patrice Lumumba, they became friends. Of course, it's interesting, they both were killed at the age of 35, 36. I don't think it was an accident, right? I don't think Kwame Nkrumah died of prostate cancer. I don't believe that. I think that imperialism works every day to sabotage and murder our leaders. That's why for us, the leadership has to be collective. And then the last part is our struggle, like today, we had the webinar yesterday. We had AAPRP people participating from Kenya, from Guinea-Bissau, from Senegal, from Burkina Faso, from Germany, from the United Cesspool of America, and all these places. Why do we do that? Because we know the hardest work in our humble perspective is getting our people to unite all over the planet Earth. So that is the work we do. And those of us in the AAPRP, like Comrade Suri, sister named Honda, brother Idangu Akabundu, myself, Shakura, Mullah, all of us, we travel home to Africa. We don't go there to sit on the beach. We do this work over there. Every time I've been to Africa, I went last time, that's the first time I just kick back and relax. Usually it's just work. And I like it a little too much. I might be bored, but we do the work, you all. And so the AAPRP, you don't have buildings in the US. We don't have that. If you have that as an organization, great. We don't have gardens in the US. If you have that, that's great. That's important work. I've done a lot of that kind of work, but we don't have that. But what we do have is right now this weekend, all over the planet Earth, African people are saying French, Portuguese, Creole, Spanish, English, Swahili, same struggle, smash settler colonialism. They're wearing white. We're coming together. Stop talking about our people can't unify. This weekend is an example that you don't know what you're talking about. Being united all over the world. The comment is open. I've been to Africa. We were in Guinea-Bissau last year. We couldn't even talk to the people. We were around it for a month. We had no problem communicating. We did all kinds of work without exchanging a single verbal word. We laughed a lot, but we communicated perfectly. Now we should learn the language, and we're working on that. But the point is that culturally we're the same, right? So we knew what each other was thinking and doing, and we were able to figure that out. And that's what we're doing. And this is not a knock against any other kind of work. All the other work is important, but this work here is the key to us achieving this objective. Y'all get that? All right. So last thing I want to do is I want to ask anyone who is in the All African People's Revolutionary Party work study process, cadre, former AAPRP members, soon to be AAPRP members, to stand up if you can, just to be recognized. Stand up, because we don't get to do that a lot. If you are in statement, raise your hand. Stand up, you know. All right, and give respect to that, because y'all don't make it easy to be an organization organized by people. It's not an easy task. And we want to say this, we want to ask you right now, if you're not in an African organization, don't leave here without joining today. Join All African People's Revolutionary Party. Go to the table and join. Well, I don't want to join the AAPRP because you're talking about Africa. I'm all about Oakland. No problem. No problem. We're not even going to argue that. Join the African People's Socialist Party. I'm sure that they need help like we need help. Join the APSP. Join the Black Alliance of People. Well, I don't want to join this because they ain't doing what I think needs to be done. Well, then join the I wish you would shut up so I can lead organization. and organize our people for liberation. We are not centric in on this question, you all. We don't care what organization you join. People don't understand it. We don't care because the people complaining about organization is like somebody not having a car complaining about transportation. You ain't got no car, you just need a car that can move, right? First thing you gotta do is get something that moves. Then when you get that, you can say, oh, I need better tires, I need better air conditioning, stereo ain't bumping enough, the RPMs ain't good enough. But if you ain't got no car, we ain't not gonna listen to you criticize transportation. Too many of us without cars are criticizing transportation. Too many of us without organizations are criticizing organizations. You gotta be a part of an organization. If you can solve the problem without being a part of an organization, we don't know what the heck you're waiting on. Please do it. We could go camping for a month. Huh? If you can just solve the problem, let us know. We'll go to Yosemite. We won't even have to worry about it. But you can't do that. So get involved with organizations. So who here would like to join an organization tonight? Don't be shy. If you ain't, you know you ain't in one, we don't want to call you out. We know you ain't in one. And if you're not in an African organization, if you're not African, we'll help you find another organization to join. That's how serious we are about it. So if you want to join the APR, please come talk to us over here. The food is out. We thank you all. I'm going to turn it over to our MC to close us out.
Go first, they can mail identifying and vote my waiting. You all can go. Enjoy. Thank you for coming.
What do you mean? I want that picture. Deborah, you want that picture? No. No. How are you? Oh. I recognize you now. You're for the Turner family, yeah. Yes.
If you don't mind.